Waxahachie ISD is a growing school district that embraces innovative curriculum and teaching methods while still honoring our traditions of excellence. Our academic programs and exceptional teachers and staff allow every student to excel on every campus, every day. Waxahachie ISD's fine arts, athletic, career and technical education, and other extracurricular programs are respected throughout the state for their long histories of success. We are proud to be a vital part of the city of Waxahachie as we work hard each day to educate the next generation of our city's leaders. We are Hatchie Forever. Roll Tide.
Hi, I'm Jackson with EllisDownHome, and I'm here with local musician Jade Flores.
Hi, y'all.
And I was really excited about this interview. I usually am behind the camera, working on the production side of things and stuff like that, but I'm extremely passionate about music and I was really excited for this interview. So let's get started.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So you were on American Idol a couple of times once in 2019 and once in 2022, right?
That's
last
right.
year.
Yep.
All right. So tell me a little bit about how that affected your career and if it was a positive impact, negative impact, or just from being on there and being I grew up watching American Idol a little bit with my grandma and stuff, so it's it was it's kind of exciting for me to just meet somebody from
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a whole new ball game for me. I'm from a small town, and so going out to Hollywood was a big change for me, going out there. Originally I tried out in Plano, Texas, and it was in a little booth. It was really cool, but there was 3 producers, and they told me, you're real good, but one guy told me you're not current enough. And so then I went back home and I told my dad, and he's like, no, we're going out to Austin. They're going to have to tell me no. So we drove all the way out to Austin, and he asked me, he said, Jade, are you singing the same song? And I said, yes, Daddy, I'm going to sing the same song. I ended up singing Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash.
Awesome.
And it ended up getting standing ovation. They sent me out to Colorado. I got to meet Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. It was a whole new ball game for me.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good experience because I got to just learn new things on that other side. I think I've always dipped my toes in the music business, but this was show business, so this was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which was a good experience for me, and it definitely did help out with my career. I got to reach a lot more people than I initially had, so that was a really cool deal.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you, what was it like meeting Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie?
Oh man, the first time I think it was definitely surreal. Coming in there, I kind of felt like, you ever seen The Wizard of Oz and you see, she comes into, I can't remember this maybe too much, but I just remember that big floating head, and they're just so giant, and it sounds like, huge. That's how it was set up. You come in there, and I felt like The Wizard of Oz, to be quite honest with you. It was just definitely unreal for me. I was, if you see my original video, I was just, to be quite honest with you, what had happened is that I was running around the building because we were doing shoots and doing all these things. And they're like, all right, Jade, it's your time. It's your time. So I ended up running around this whole entire building. And I came in and I'm huffing and puffing. They're like, all right, go out there. Don't stop talking. And I'm like, do you know who I am? If I don't stop talking, oh my goodness. And so they're like, okay. So I just was spitballing everything I could possibly say. I was, hyperventilating from just the nerves, and then, the cardio I just went through running around this whole entire building, and then, I had heels on too, so it was just a whole crazy thing. And so I remember, Luke Bryan asked me, did you have any caffeine? And I'm like, no, this is just me, and this is all it is. And so I ended up singing, I actually ended up singing the Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash.
Awesome.
They said they really liked it, but they wanted to hear something that meant something to me. And so the song that I could think of growing up was a Deanna Carter song, Strawberry Wine. So I had been playing that song on my guitar forever, and so they're like, all right, let's hear it. And so I played that song. That happened to be the song that they aired on the show. Now, again, I was huffing and puffing, so, I'm such a stickler for my performance, but, Yeah, it was a great time.
Mhm.
Like, I had a really, really great time.
Mhm.
Meeting Ryan Seacrest was just crazy,
Yeah.
because you always see him on the show,
Mhm.
with Simon Cowell and the
Yeah.
whole deal. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it was definitely a crazy moment. And they
Yeah.
tricked me towards
Mhm.
the end because they're like, all right, they all looked at each other and they got up and like, you're going to Hollywood. And then out of nowhere, my family comes out through the back. They
Yeah.
surprised me with my family,
Yeah.
and my husband comes out, and, my mom, my dad. And it was a really cool deal.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
probably one of the best feelings
Mhm.
ever.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like Lionel especially
Mm-hmm.
is he's an icon.
He's the OG.
So,
He's the man.
I actually saw him in Vegas a couple of months
Oh,
ago.
wow.
Or a few months ago now. I think it was in July of last year.
Okay.
So, but like me and my dad, we flew out there,
Yeah.
and we saw him, and it was so cool.
Oh,
And it was even cooler because it was like he was playing like in a casino type residency
yeah.
kind of place, and it was like a hotel. It was kind of nice, but it was like a very like intimate concert. Like it was a smaller venue, so it was
Yeah.
even cooler.
That is so cool. Yeah, when I remember him coming out and giving me a hug,
Mhm.
I just remember seeing him. He had like on I think it was like a blazer of some sort.
Yeah.
Then he had on some shorts and some neon green bright sneakers, and it
Yeah.
was just so cool. I'm like, man, this guy is like the OG, but
Yeah.
he definitely, I will have to say, personality wise,
Mhm.
him as a person, I definitely loved Lionel Richie the
Mhm.
most.
Yeah.
Because he, even off camera,
Mhm.
he, took the time to come out and say hi and,
Yeah.
and talk to you like a
Mhm.
regular person. And
Yeah.
it really did felt, so genuine.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I definitely resonated more with
Mhm.
Lionel for sure.
Yeah. You also recently attended Loretta Lynn's funeral.
Yeah.
So wanted to ask you about that and see
Yeah.
how, like, how that was for you. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's obviously like huge country music, like
yeah.
influence person.
She's a queen.
And,
Mhm.
like for me, like Coal Miner's Daughter is one of my favorite songs. I
That's my favorite one.
love that song. And
Yep.
it's a great storytelling song. And
Did you see
just,
Casey do it on the Grammys?
yeah, I did.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was so beautiful. She
It was
got to play
fun.
her actual guitar.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I especially love the hip hop
Yeah.
thing from the Grammys last
Yeah, that
week.
was so
That was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so it was October 8th that she had
Mhm.
passed away. I got the phone call, and it was just absolutely devastating. Because she was such a huge inspiration for me. She was just such a feisty person, and I definitely could relate to that. So that was very devastating when I heard about that. And so there was a way for me to, put in that I wanted to attend her memorial service, and I got an invitation to go. And so I immediately got on a plane to
Yeah.
Nashville, and I never got to meet her in person. That was always a huge goal of mine.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a bittersweet deal,
Yeah.
just to go. A lot of people are like, "Are you so excited?" It was just like a really mixed feeling type of
Yeah.
thing. I was excited to finally, I couldn't be there during her life, but just to be there towards the end of her life,
Yeah.
like her memorial service was a really big opportunity for me, and it was definitely some good closure for me
Yeah.
too.
I mean, one thing I want to say is that like I have like a few favorite artists in mind, and it's like really hard whenever they pass away or members of bands or artists pass away because you feel like you know them,
Right.
and they like have done so much for you.
Yeah, I was
And
in the
it's
car
like,
driving just
yeah.
yesterday, and I'm like sitting. That was like probably like the first time I listened to Loretta Lynn since her passing,
Yeah.
and that was really hard for
Yeah.
me.
I kind of felt that way when Eddie Van Halen passed away a couple years ago, because
Yeah,
Van Halen's one of my favorite bands. So, you know,
yeah, I
um,
completely understand.
so moving on from there, I wanted to ask you what artists influenced you to like to start
music.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's really so an artist. Oh man, so I think originally, you know, my parents, they dabble a little bit here in music. My mama, she could sing. My daddy, he can sing a little too.
Yeah.
And singing wasn't always I mean, I could sing, but I
Mhm.
actually was an athlete back in the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
And so, I was a soccer player and I ended up tearing my knee. And so I ended up learning to pick up the guitar and learn a
Mhm.
couple chords. And from there, I was watching CMT, watching Keith Urban play Only You Can
Mhm.
Love Me This Way. And I learned 3 chords, G, C, and D.
Yeah.
And I learned to play. And then from there, I started gathering inspiration from definitely Loretta Lynn. She
Mhm.
was always there in my journey. And then, oh gosh, who else? Rascal Flatts.
Mm.
I love Rascal
Yeah.
Flatts. Gary, the lead singer, he was just
Mhm.
incredible. So I feel like I had a little bit of mixture of that early 2000s and that
Mhm.
old country. My
Yeah.
my main 3 artists, though, I have to pick. It would have to be Loretta Lynn,
Mhm.
Patsy Cline, and Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Those 3.
Those are those are great picks. I
Yeah,
mean,
those
for
are huge influences for me.
me, like for the kinds of country music that I like the most,
Hmm.
like I like the older stuff a little bit more than the new stuff.
Yeah,
I don't always love the new stuff that comes out because it's some stuff is more pop influence
yeah,
and it's like a mix, which I
yeah.
can appreciate that too, but
Right.
it's not always like this kind of stuff that I gravitate towards.
I always feel like I was
And
born in the wrong era for me because
mhm,
I love the older
yeah,
stuff, and unfortunately it does seem like it's a dying
mhm,
thing, but that's why it's such a huge
yeah,
deal for me to make sure that I'm always bringing back
mhm,
those great
mhm,
great songs.
yeah. I mean, for me, like Patsy Cline is awesome. I love
Patsy
Patsy
Cline
Cline.
is the
Yeah,
best.
and recently I've been like going through and like I've been doing a lot more like 50s music.
Okay, yeah.
So like I went through and did like a whole bunch of different artists like from the whole like malt shop and doo-wop era of
Oh
music.
yeah.
And it's really interesting is whenever you hear Patsy Cline, it kind of like
It has that
mixes
feel.
country
Yeah.
but has the same feel as that
Yeah.
malt shop and diner stuff.
Absolutely.
And for me, like it's like some of my favorite music to go through
Uh
so far.
so
It's
good.
like so like the harmonies and the just everything about it is so
Yeah.
like really sweet and
Mhm.
awesomeness.
It's
So
nostalgic.
yeah,
It's
nostalgic too.
it's the best.
Why is music so important to you?
Oh man, for me, music, speaks to the soul. It speaks to the heart. It definitely is something that, when it's hard to speak in words,
Hmm.
for me, it's always been, if I can't say it in words, I can sing it,
Yeah.
and that was always how I coped. It was definitely a coping mechanism.
Hmm.
But also at the same time, it was just something that I've always just been so passionate
Hmm.
about. Music runs deep within my family, and it passed on to
Hmm.
me.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say is that music for me has been like such a positive influence in my life, and
Yeah,
it's helped me through so much, like so much stuff, and
absolutely.
like, and it's honestly like an indescribable like thing of
Hmm.
healing, and it's like a really beautiful art
Yeah,
form for all these different reasons.
it's always there for
So
you.
yeah.
Music is always there. And through different types of emotions that you could be having, whether you're angry, whether you're
Hmm.
sad, whether you're happy, whether you just want to be crazy.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's what's beautiful about music. Like it just,
Hmm.
it all depends on what you want to listen to and how
Yeah.
it's gonna make you feel. And as long as it makes you feel good and get up
Hmm.
and do all the great things, and
Yeah.
it's working.
So I'd also like to use this interview as a platform to where you can like tell people about stuff
Yeah,
you have going on.
yeah.
Also like just your material. How like I was wondering like how much is your own material and how much do you
Mhm.
cover other people's stuff? And I was just
Yeah,
curious to see what kind of stuff you cover and stuff like
yeah.
that too.
Definitely, I think after probably about 2 years ago, I really started diving in more into my original music.
Hmm.
And recently, I just put together a band, which is great because we've been performing all over the DFW,
Hmm.
Metroplex, and
Yeah.
we've been playing lots of gigs almost every weekend.
Awesome.
And, I like to write a lot about my life.
Hmm.
And, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but
Yeah.
I'm always hoping that somebody can relate to it somehow.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wrote quite a bit of songs, and right now we've been performing a lot of original stuff,
Hmm.
and they seem to love it. Like originally, we have been doing this. another original song that I've been working on. It's called Thief of Hearts,
Mm-hmm.
and people just love it so much. It's kind of a murder story, but it's fun. People tend to love it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we've been having a great time with those.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So I kind of touched on this a little bit too. But like, what kind of country music is your favorite? Because like, there's so much different evolution of country music throughout as far back as like the 40s to now.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, like.
That's a great question. You know, my daddy was completely classic country.
Mm-hmm.
My mama, she really liked a lot of like rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
blues. You know, personally, I love the older country, like we were talking about, you know, like the 40s, 50s, around that doo-wop era for sure. But, you know, I had a lot of influences from my parents. And I'd feel like I lean a lot towards the classic country side.
Yeah.
You know, real country. You know, stuff that's actually made with instruments, not just, you know, the whole, you know, the whole deal that they do now. And you know, no offense to anybody else that does that. It's not that it, you know, I don't like it. It's just not something that I completely dive into. But you know, there are times that, you know, sometimes I might feel a little more bluesy or a little bit more rockish, you know, because from my mama's side. So, you know, I definitely stick to the roots of classic country, but do I have some influence of blues, maybe a little southern rock and roll? You know, it definitely peeks out through there sometimes.
I mean, one of my favorite artists, I mean, you got to talking about blues and rock and stuff. Like one of my all-time favorite artists, especially being from Texas, is ZZ Top.
Okay, so, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So
see, my mama would love you.
Yeah. Well, ZZ Top is awesome because they do exactly like what you're talking about. They like they're kind of like the perfect triangle of like country, blues, and rock in a lot of the cases. A lot of people don't classify them or understand that they have some country dabbling stuff because not a lot of their songs got like hits back then that had like steel guitars and fiddles on them and stuff like that, and nobody knows. At least it doesn't seem like it. Like people know, you know, would know now.
Right.
But like I was just thinking too that like it's always cool, and the best artists are the ones that don't stick to one thing, and they try different things and continue to evolve their sound.
Yeah, and, absolutely.
You know.
That's what I always try to do. You know, I always try to stay true to myself, which is the classic country. But you know, like we were talking about with emotion, just depends on how you're feeling. You know, if you want to feel mad, you know, you might throw a little rock and roll in there. You know, feel a little sad, you might throw a little blues in there. It just all depends. But for the most part, I definitely stick to that classic country, but I dabble here and there.
Yeah. How can us in the community like get more involved in what you're doing and like and where you're doing it and like get involved?
Yeah, where my shows are. Yeah, absolutely. So y'all go check me out on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook / the Jade Flores. And on Instagram, you can find me on official Jade Flores. And on Twitter, you can find me on the Jade Flores. Now, I don't get on it a whole lot, but you can definitely check me out on Instagram. All of my shows are there as well. But definitely for a good lineup of shows, jadeflores.com for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Jade, for coming on with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to giving more stories about other people in the community. Thanks for watching.